Artificial intelligence is so much more than just the latest tech buzzword. It's a massive shift that's sending these incredible ripples across our entire world. We're talking about a fundamental rewiring of how businesses run, how laws get written, and even, believe it or not, how we power our planet. So let's follow those ripples, right from that first technological splash to the huge waves that are reshaping, well, everything. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with that tech spark that's changing everything. This move away from just looking at data on dashboards to having AI that actually does things. From there, we'll trace that first ripple into the super complex world of global law, and then the second one into AI's huge and kind of hidden energy footprint. Then we'll look at how smart people are responding, and we'll wrap it all up with what this means for the future of intelligence itself. Okay, let's dive right into the core technology that's driving all of this. For decades, our relationship with data has been pretty passive. We look at it, but that is all about to change. For years and years, dashboards have been fantastic at telling us what happened, but they always hit a wall. They stop right before the most important part, figuring out what to do next. And that gap, the one right there between the insight and the action, that's where all the potential just gets lost. I mean, look at this. This is the old way of doing things. And honestly, it's broken. Just notice how many times you see the word human. Humans preparing data, building dashboards, trying to figure them out, and then manually taking action. Every single link in that chain is a massive delay. It's a bottleneck where speed and value just evaporate. And this brings us to a really fundamental shift in thinking. We're moving away from traditional business intelligence, which is all about looking in the rearview mirror, to something called enterprise intelligence, which is all about looking forward. It's the difference between asking, so what happened, and getting a direct answer, to, okay, what should we do right now? The tech that makes this all possible is called Agentic AI. And really, the best way to think about it isn't as a tool, but more like a digital coworker. It can look at a situation, come up with a plan, and then, and this is the crucial part, it can actually execute that plan all by itself, completely closing that loop between insight and action, all within the rules that we set for it. So this completely changes how we measure success. The value isn't in the fancy report or the pretty chart anymore. Nope. It's in the decision that gets executed. It's the outcome that's actually achieved. That is the new benchmark, period. But as this super powerful technology starts closing that action loop, it kicks off new ripples. And the first one slams right into our legal systems, creating this fractured, messy global rulebook that is an absolute nightmare for companies to navigate. Just look at this map. It's basically a legal minefield. As AI gets hungrier and hungrier for data, the risk of getting hit with a class action lawsuit is just exploding, but it's not happening evenly everywhere. You're looking at a global heat map of risk, and you can see places like the US and parts of Europe are just glowing red hot with litigation risk. And this divide is only getting wider. In one corner, you've got the US pushing this innovation-first idea, trying to clear the path for growth. And in the other corner, you have the EU, which is building this fortress of really tough, enforcement-heavy regulations like the AI Act. If you're a global company, trying to operate across that gap is a huge challenge. And listen to this from an expert at the law firm Freshfields, because he really nails it. The risk has moved way beyond just big, flashy data breaches. Now, the real danger is in the everyday tools of the web. The cookies, the tracking pixels, the very things that power AI are now becoming the reason for these really sophisticated and very expensive lawsuits. But these ripples, they aren't just legal or digital. This whole intelligence revolution has a massive physical cost. The second ripple is all about energy, and it's a wave that we're really just starting to understand. Okay, let's start with a baseline. Right now, data centers, which are basically the physical brains behind the cloud and AI, already use up about 1.5% of all the electricity generated on the entire planet. That's already a pretty big number to start with. But here's where it gets really staggering. The International Energy Agency is forecasting that the electricity demand from these data centers, driven almost completely by AI, is going to jump by nearly 16% every single year. To try and put that into perspective for you, look at this. Within just a couple of years, the world's data centers will need as much electricity as the entire United Kingdom uses today. The scale of this new demand is just mind-boggling. And this creates what you could call a sustainability paradox. The very technology that we hope might solve some of our biggest problems is creating a massive environmental one of its own, straining our power grids and making that switch to green energy that much harder. So, with these huge legal and environmental hurdles, how do we move forward? Well, this isn't just a story about problems, it's also a story about innovation. So, let's take a look at the response. On the legal side, it's really all about survival, and that means a whole new framework for AI governance. The first step is just navigating that fractured global landscape. The second is building a really strong internal set of rules and policies. And the third is taking a hard look at any high-risk AI uses to avoid legal, operational, and, of course, reputational disasters. A huge part of that governance is just getting way smarter about data. This means looking into things like synthetic data or federated learning, which are advanced ways to let AI learn without ever seeing the raw sensitive information. It also means we have to stop thinking of anonymization as a one-time fix. It has to be this dynamic, continuous process that's always adapting to new risks. And this is a brilliant illustration of where this is all going. Things like the EU's new digital product passport for electric car batteries use data sharing as a tool for both regulation and sustainability. It creates this transparent view across the entire supply chain, from the mine all the way to the recycler, all running on a shared, secure data platform. And on the energy side of things, technology is also coming up with solutions. Innovations like liquid cooling for data centers are a total game changer. I mean, this chart shows it can slash electricity use by up to 20% and water use by almost half. That's a direct counterattack on the energy thirst of high-performance AI. So we follow these ripples from technology to law to the environment and then back to innovation. What's the big takeaway from all this? What's the bottom line? Ultimately, what we're seeing is this fundamental transition. The past was all about collecting and reporting on data. But the future is about building intelligent systems that act on it. We're moving from a passive world of just looking at things to an active world of automated, responsible, and decisive intelligence. And that leaves us with one final and pretty provocative question. As these powerful AI agents become our digital coworkers, capable of doing all these complex things on their own, we have to ask ourselves, where do we, the humans, fit in? Who is ultimately in charge? And that right there is the strategic and ethical challenge that's going to define the next decade.